Hey there, my name's Neandra. I made a Mercy video guide a while back and wanted to update it. I'm a Grandmaster / Master tier support main. I briefly hit top 500 and have about 600 hours on her. Other credentials include hitting rank 69 as her on overbuff. My peak was 7th, but that's not as funny. In my first video guide, in regards to Mercy, I said, I think she's strongest on defense.
Fine on attack, but after the 25% ult charge nerf, pretty bad on King of the Hill. It can still work, but always seems to be because of pharmacy and no one efficiently dealing with Pharah. I think if you're mid-platinum or below, then she's perfectly fine on King of the Hill.
After her rework, I consider her viable anytime, any rank. Another thing I mentioned was, you have actively picked to play the most defenseless character in the game, and your team can't spend the match babysitting you. This still remains. If you're going to play Mercy, please invest in a microphone and a decent pair of headphones. Playing Mercy without voice communication is just shooting yourself in the foot and hurting your team. I'm going to split my video into 6 categories: staff and pistol, resurrection, ultimate, positioning, mentality and communication. Let's talk staff and pistol. I'm going to start with damage boost because holy fuck do I love this ability. I review a lot of Mercy VODs on r/Overwatch University, and lack of damage boost is pretty much the first thing that always jumps out to me. It's definitely underused to flat out ignored by a lot of Mercy players. I know some teams are damage magnets, but even while solo healing, there are still tons of good damage boost opportunities. You want fast reactions in regards to damage boost and be able to hastily flick between it and healing like this. This is especially useful when you've got a Roadhog on your team. I've had many times where I'm healing him, he hooks someone, and I time myself so Roadhog is damage boosted while landing shots. Also useful for Reinhardt in regards to Fire Strike. I'm going to throw some facts at you. Healing someone at full health does not give ult charge. Damage boost gives you ult charge while your target lands their shots. Your target gets ult quicker when damage boosted. So, in summary, damage boost is so fucking good. Mercies who take advantage of it are helping their team so much more than the people who play her as a heal bot. If you're feeling unconfident on when to use it, here's some scenarios. 1. At the beginning of defense, when an ally overextends to fire some quick damage against enemy spawn doors. Usually this will be Reinhardt with Fire Strike or Symmetra with her right click, but anyone with long range capabilities is pretty good. I've actually started encouraging allies to do this. I'll say, hey Reinhardt, can you Fire Strike the spawn doors real quick and I'll damage boost it? Although at lower ranks especially, make sure your team knows this isn't where you'll be holding and that you guys will be getting back immediately afterwards. 2. During friendly Zenyatta's ult, outside of special circumstances, there's no point in healing people who are already receiving 300 health per second. 3. When Roadhog hooks someone, especially if it's another tank. As previously said, I'll often swap to damage boost even if Roadhog is missing health. Obviously, your own judgment is needed, don't fucking let him die. 4. When an ally is hit by Ana's biotic grenade, anti-heal lasts for 4 seconds. Consider tracking the time in your head, like damage boost an ally for 3 seconds, then swap back as it finishes. 5. During almost any offensive friendly ultimate where your ally isn't vulnerable, I damage boost as much of Tactical Visor as I can, but for Deadeye, I try to time it or just heal all the way through. Same with Rocket Barrage. 6. When friendly D.Va is demeched, damage boosting the baby D.Va will help her become a tank again quicker, which you know is pretty important. In my first Mercy guide, this was my top 5 favourite people to damage boost who are McCree, Soldier and Pharah, because obviously they're good. It has changed slightly. Number 1 is Zarya, always been a favourite of mine. Either you're making up for her lack of charge or she's just going fucking ham. With buffs to Graviton, it's honestly one of the best ultimates in the game, and allowing her to get it just that tiny bit quicker is good shit. Number 2, Lucio and Zenyatta, depending on which one your team has. Let me explain. Now that Mercy doesn't have her reset button, a defensive ultimate is so fucking valuable. Because of this, I've been damage boosting our second support a lot more because they need it by the time enemy Genji or enemy Soldier has their ult. Zenyatta was always a good damage boost target, you know, combine it with his Discord and you've got some disgustingly high damage output, but consider giving Lucio a little bit more love next time you play alongside him. Number 3, Winston. His default DPS is 60, the same rate as Mercy's heal, which means she can totally negate his damage. Damage boost bypasses that and is especially effective when he hits multiple targets at once. Number 4, Junkrat. Considering some of his buffs directly relate to his ultimate, helping Junkrat get it quicker can be devastating, and it's already fast charging in the first place. And number 5 is Roadhog for reasons previously stated. Honestly, there are no bad damage boost targets, but be cautious with flankers or aggressive allies who tend to play amidst the enemy. In regards to Mercy's heal mode, don't have much to say on it, it's fairly self-explanatory. For priority when multiple people are damaged, you'll need to use your own judgment. I generally tend to characters who can't heal themselves first. One thing you may want to do is swap between targets, like get someone to a safe range of health but not full, attend to someone else and do the same, like so. Remember that Zarya at half HP still has more health than Soldier at 75%. Occasionally, allies overextend and you have to decide whether you're going to heal them or let them die. I can't give a definite answer here, it's a case by case decision. Two techniques I use to decide are: 1. Number of enemies near or around that overextended ally. Mercy heals at 60 health per second. She likely isn't going to out-heal 4 enemies attacking the same teammate. 2. The positioning of my other teammates and the number of escape routes. If you're diving forward to heal someone, you want to guarantee you can safely get back out, especially if they die. Here's a clip from a VOD review I did. I fly forward to heal our overextended Roadhog, but can immediately get the fuck out of there by flying to friendly Harissa, who is standing behind me. I've recently started being a bit more considerate to our other healer and their ult charge. This is really good when your team has Sombra.
I've got ult. Sombra doesn't use the hacked health kit, Winston.
I sometimes do this with Ana and Zenyatta too. Like, if Reaper's missing 25 HP and has an orb on him, I'll try to stick to damage boost, providing he's not in danger. Okay, so let's talk Mercy's pistol. I gotta be honest, I don't use it that often because damage boost usually just seems so much better. I like it for emergency ult charge, like I'll blind fire towards a group of enemies on point B of Anubis defense, for example. When you damage someone in Overwatch who isn't then killed, chances are they'll be healed by enemy support who in return gets ult charge. Now, if you're using this to build Valkyrie, then it's an even trade, but be cautious of feeding with your pistol. Mercy can do surprisingly well in a 1v1. I found the easiest targets to be out of mech baby divas, followed by other healers. Especially a panicked enemy Mercy who isn't as confident as you. That being said, you don't want to spend 20 seconds fighting Genji while allies die elsewhere. This is why I mainly use the pistol as cleanup. It's very good against enemies at critical health, heavily focused elsewhere, or have had their mobility taken away. Get into the habit of swapping to your pistol when there's no beam targets currently available. Mercy can still fly about as normal with it equipped. Don't let yourself be a free kill unless you need to die quickly. I generally do this while walking back from spawn until my team is in view. Let's talk Mercy's new E ability. Okay, so now the focus is more on single target and tempo resurrections. Although it was definitely possible with her old ults, it is now much more easier to stagger your own team. I mentioned in my last guide, just because you can res doesn't mean you have to. This still applies even more so than before. A bad resurrection essentially resets / doubles the respawn timer of a target, gives the enemy extra ult charge as they kill your ally a second time, and puts your ability on a 30-second cooldown. Constantly ask yourself, has my team already lost this fight? For the most part, using Resurrection is perfectly fine, but there will be moments where it may be more effective to save it for your next push. 2 examples of this would be: 1. You're on Lijiang Tower. It's the beginning of the round. First fight, 6 of you are running out of spawn. Enemy Pharah boops 2 allies off the edge, and then another ally is killed by, let's say, Roadhog. Instead of rezzing that ally and being 2 down, I tell my team to get the fuck out of there. 2. This clip from a Masters Kings Row game I had. I was anticipating Res, followed by Valkyrie, but realised it just wasn't worth it. I shouldn't have done that. So what happened here was, they activate Nanovisor, our Junkrat dies, our Zenyatta who is positioned further back dies before I resurrect Junkrat, our Harissa is hit with anti-heal, and McCree is being targeted. With all that was going on around me there, I should not have resurrected Junkrat. I'm glad I didn't activate Valkyrie there, I probably would have just died immediately. Even if I'd resurrected Harissa too, we'd still be down McCree, Zenyatta, and kind of our Hanzo who was walking back from spawn while all this happened. It's entirely up to your own judgment, but there are times where you can get away with not rezzing someone and just waiting for them to walk back from spawn.
Okay.
On defense, I do this when my team has won the fight while having severe spawn advantage, aka point B of 2 CP. Here's a clip from Anubis. I check the scoreboard, see 4 enemies are dead, and decide to let our Reaper respawn as normal. Be careful while doing this on defense. It's also an option to consider on attack when your team hasn't reached the objective yet. Let's say you were attacking point A of Hanamura, your team's standing outside the choke point and friendly McCree gets picked off. You can either use res or wait for him to come back. There's no right or wrong answer, but here are some things to consider. 1. The round timer. I would be more likely to resurrect McCree if we only had, say, a minute, whereas if this was the first push and we still had 3 minutes 45 seconds left, I'd be more inclined to wait. 2. If you bring back McCree and push in, assuming the enemy also has a Mercy, are they going to have res while you don't? If so, your team is going to have to get 2 quick picks to be even. 3. Do you have Valkyrie and a way to circumvent the 30-second cooldown if needed? 4. Has your team gotten any picks or a momentum going? Another thing to consider is Mercy's immunity frames have been removed. This means if an ally dies in a shitty spot, you could die too trying to reach them. As time goes on, players are going to adapt and get better at dealing with Mercy. They might start bodyguarding corpses, attempt to kill you when you get near. This is when you want to start communicating with your team. Either, sorry Tracer, I can't get to you, play a little safer next time, or, guys, I'm going to try and res Tracer, please watch over me. Depending on your team comp, allies can help in different ways. For example, you could ask Zarya to bubble you or Reinhardt to step forward with his shield. Teammates see the same character icon you do, this means coordination is a little bit easier. Ultimately, it is your decision and up to your own judgment. If you know attempting a resurrection isn't worth it, then don't. The rules for res are now pretty strict. The range is only 5 meters and requires line of sight. This means barriers and shields will block you. But yeah, I decided to focus this section on when not to res because it should be fairly obvious when to. You want to keep momentum going or undo a pick that the enemy would push in on, someone died with a valuable ult, etc, etc. In regards to priority, it's just so varying. However, remember, D.Va has to get back into mech after being resed, look after her and try to make sure she doesn't die again while climbing back in. Let's move on to Mercy's new ultimate, Valkyrie. Oh my god, I love this ability. You probably know the common technique by now. Res someone, activate ult to reset the cooldown, res someone else. As of right now, October 8th, 2017, it was recently announced that Valkyrie will no longer reset the cooldown or make it shorter when active. Lucky for me, I often res someone and then activate Valkyrie immediately rather than waiting for a second ally to die. This has worked out really well as a pushing or initiation tool, which I think is going to be the main use of Valkyrie once the changes go through. During Valkyrie, I generally stick to chaining damage boost, which I feel has been the most consistently effective, unless one or more allies are close to death, in which case heal. When the changes do go through, I probably will stick to healing more than I do now, because I will no longer have access to quick resurrections. Using the pistol is good too, especially against those in hard to reach areas. For example, a low health enemy who is positioned further back and maybe behind healthy allies or something. But hitting 2+ allies with damage boost is so amazing for the reasons explained when I talk about her staff. Valkyrie, and damage boost in particular, is especially good against enemies attempting to stall, like when your team's nearing the end of Payload or 2CP attack. During a stall, it is crucial to get kills quickly, with little to no people on your own team dying. Valkyrie aids both really well. Be cautious of your positioning during Valkyrie, especially if the enemy team has any combination of McCree, Soldier, Roadhog or Widow. Sometimes it'll be safer to play low, maybe behind a shield, rather than high up in the air. You still retain the same speed while technically gliding along the floor. I make use of Guardian Angel a lot while in Valkyrie, I keep myself moving and be annoying to hit. As Valkyrie comes to an end, start positioning yourself safely or back with your team. You don't want to accidentally drop in a bad spot like behind enemy lines or in the middle of them. Valkyrie can be used as a pseudo defense ultimate. A bunch of allies getting 60 health per second is pretty good, but still weak against a lot of abilities. You really need to ask yourself, what ults does the enemy probably have right now before doing so? For example, here's a clip where my allies got stuck in Graviton. I thought it'd be safe to pop Valkyrie, forgetting the enemy had a Junkrat who was alive and had not ulted for a while.
Oh, that was my bad.
If you suspect the enemy is lacking burst damage, then I definitely think it can work. I already made a little Reddit thread about this, but as a tip, if you're in a position where Valkyrie only has a few seconds left on it and you've already won the fight, preferably secured a team wipe, consider waiting until your ult is over to start healing up allies. Mercy doesn't generate ult charge while in Valkyrie, but with this little method, you'll get 5 to 20% before you've even started the next fight. Obviously, this is super situational, don't let allies die for this. Let's talk positioning. It overlaps with game sense quite a bit. Good positioning is so important and will help keep you alive even when people come after you. In my opinion, Mercy has some of, if not just the best mobility in the game, but it's heavily team and awareness dependent. I personally try to never stand still. Even a small circular strafe is better than nothing. You've got 2 amazing abilities to get yourself about. 1, Guardian Angel, 2, Angelic Descent. To get the best out of her mobility, I like to use these 2 tricks. 1, fly to someone who's pushed up, cancel, and hold S. This allows you to get close enough to heal but also keep distance and your options open in regards to escape routes. I use this when allies are pushed up a bit further than I'd like them to be. 2. This is getting nerfed on the PTR, but I'm going to mention it anyway in case it's still viable in future, and I hope it is. Fly to someone, preferably on higher or lower ground, cancel before you reach them, and use Angelic Descent. So yeah, you get a little extra control over air movement and can usually push yourself into a safer position. With Guardian Angel having a cooldown of only 2 seconds, you can sometimes keep off the ground and zip between teammates. Often, good positioning is just repeatedly asking yourself, is this spot better than this spot? If so, why? What about here instead? The goal is to maximise escape routes and minimise the effectiveness of flankers. This can be done by taking advantage of Mercy's beam length and good knowledge of your surroundings. Mercy's beam stays active for 3 seconds while your target is out of line of sight. I use this often to stay behind cover, peek so my beam isn't cancelled, and then move back into safety like so. I often try to position myself in a way where I can watch over areas my team cannot. A good example of this is the first area of Dorado defense. While my allies are up top and looking down the road, I keep an eye on the stairs behind us. Obviously, I need to be careful of people coming up top like Pharah or Junkrat, so I'll keep myself moving in a motion like this that allows me to quickly check both. Look at the scoreboard often, analyse their team comp and adapt accordingly. Basically, play around their abilities. For example, say you're defending point A of Numbani and the enemy has Tracer. She has no vertical mobility. If you were positioned here, she could easily get to you, but if you were standing here, she'd have to go all the way around. No map layouts like the back of your hand. Memorise health kits and identify when teammates are going to use them. Don't run across an exposed area for someone at 140 health who's 4 feet away from a big health kit and not in any immediate danger. Remember, Mercy has health regeneration. Make sure to check your health bar often. Sometimes it'll be wiser to wait a few seconds and heal yourself up before flying. Just remember, Guardian Angel has a cooldown of only 2 seconds, but when you're surrounded by a shitload of enemies, this can and will feel like an eternity. Last of all, if Tracer sticks a pulse bomb to you, stand still. Avoid being a bomb delivery service. Let's talk mentality, aka game sense, and how it can improve your play. So, no pressure, but you are the highest priority target and 6 people constantly want you dead. To survive, you should keep track of the following. 1. Your allies' positions. Keep thinking about possible escape routes, such as an ally on higher ground or further back. Make it dangerous for the enemy to come after you. Have, at a minimum, a vague idea of the positioning of allies who aren't in view. 2. The enemy team's positions. Note who's being aggressive, who's still coming back from spawn or missing from a fight. 3. What ultimates does the enemy team probably have? After a fight, whether your team wins or loses, ask yourself what ults were used and which ones weren't. You can do this with the help of the scoreboard, sound effects, and your brain's ability to make assumptions/judgments. Here are some things that you should regularly ask yourself. 1. I can view teammates through walls, but non-supports can't see me. How quickly can they help if needed? As a healer, you get to see an ally's outline through walls, but they only see a generic chevron for you. Combine that with the lack of peripheral vision in this game, and you need to guide teammates when you need help. When under attack, it's better to say help, Tracer behind Payload, for example, rather than just help, Tracer on me. 2. What enemy ults are the most dangerous for me and my team? Tracking 6 ultimates that all charge at different rates is tough. Often, I'll look at the enemy comp, I'll prioritise, and focus on the most dangerous. For example, I consider Dragon Blade a bigger threat than High Noon because with that I should almost always be in a position where I can hide from it. 3. How long into the match are we? Who's probably got ult right now? Like, if we were 2 to 3 minutes into the round yet and Zarya hadn't used ult, I play more at a distance. Look out for enemies being more aggressive than normal. Maybe Reaper's dancing around the payload in Wraith form or he's on higher ground looking down at us. Maybe Genji's just dashed into the air, or Reinhardt looks like he's trying to bait the shield or something, you know? But yeah, in summary, game sense is just not autopiloting, basically, you know? It's frequent, critical thought. Lastly, let's talk communication. Here are some things you can say to help the team. 1. How long until the next resurrection? Avoid spamming voice comms with this and pick clean numbers. For example, 10 seconds until next res, 5 seconds until next res, or simply, I'm sorry, I can't res you right now. 2. Whether you're dead, coming back, or if the team currently has no healers. On r/Overwatch, using the I need healing command while Mercy is dead seems to make a lot of users foam at the mouth. This attitude is so fucking stupid. It takes 2 seconds to say or type out, "I'm dead, sorry, grab a health kit." If a second healer is dead alongside of you, please let the team know and say, "Hey guys, you have no healers right now, play safely." After respawning, I usually tell my team that I'm on my way back. 3. Ask an ally to taxi you back from spawn. Some players do this automatically and they're very much appreciated, but you can't expect everyone to be tracking your respawn timer. 4. Changes to enemy team composition. For example, enemy Reaper changes to Pharah. The sooner you notice changes, the better. Like in this scenario, maybe someone needs to go hit scan, and also you know that person has had their ult charge reset. 5. Any pattern in the enemy composition. What I mean by this is look out for things the enemy is weak to. If they've got 3 tanks, I'll call it out. If their DPS is Junkrat and Reaper, I'll ask my team if anyone's good at Pharah. 6. Enemies trying to kill you. Typing in team chat while dead, "Guys, Genji's in the backline, please protect me," is not good enough. Saying Genji behind Payload while alive will help keep you that way. And on that note, I'm finished. Thank you so much for watching my guide. One last thing, please always be critical of your own plays. Shitty teammates come and go, but you're stuck with yourself for 100% of the matches you play. So focus on yourself and good luck in future matches.